Hi, my name is Rossi, Eason, and I'm the founder of the Restore Black America Foundation and the author of the book Restore Black America. Today I have a special guest by the name of Sean Carrington, who is the founder of a website called blackmillionaires.com. And I want to bring Sean on today because I felt that he had an interesting perspective on black economics and entrepreneurship and some of the things that we need to do as a community to pull our situation together. But before we get into the actual core of the interview, I wanted to know if you could just maybe give us a brief background in terms of what your professional background and even some of your personal background as well.
Well, my original background was in technology. Computer science degree from Rochester Institute of Technology. I did a research fellowship at MIT. I was in IT for many years. Climbed up the corporate ladder, was in the financial sector, was the chief information officer of the New York Mercantile Exchange for a number of years. And then I got into trading and internet marketing and built a business for myself, and off we went from there. The rest, as they say, is history.
I got you, that's pretty good. And so what led you to actually start working in the black community as far as what you're doing working with African Americans?
Well, it's funny. My wife and I originally had planned, once the kids were older and they were grown, we were going to just done. And so, my daughter graduated college and we started traveling. And last year, I think we went to 7 countries and, but then all of these police shootings started, and I saw the way that we as a community reacted to them, and what especially was alarming to me was the lack of leadership. And she and I sat down and we had a conversation, and we just decided to do something about it.
Really? And so you started blackmillionaires.com, that was your idea from that?
That was the idea. I was torn between 2 concepts. The first concept was what we have now, and the second concept was working with middle-aged kids from that age up, teaching them business skills, entrepreneurial skills, with an idea towards once they graduated high school, they had an entrepreneur's mindset, and then they would be, maybe they could go out for a job, but also to consider going out and starting their own business instead, so that they have control of their situation.
That's good. I'm glad you said that, because that actually kind of leads me to my next question. Obviously, in order for us to improve our financial situation as a community, we need sort of, an economic renaissance, which starts by having more black businesses, as you mentioned. But from your perspective, why aren't more black people in business for themselves?
That's a good question. Language is a powerful thing. And one of the things that you hear a lot in our community is, he's got a good job, or he makes good money. Those are 2 phrases that you hear all the time. What's behind those phrases? We typically teach our children, go to school, study hard, get good grades, get a good job. Go to college, get good grades, get a good job. School teaches you to be an employee. And our parenting typically doesn't teach our children otherwise. And so since you don't hear it, you don't know, and you don't know what you don't know. The entrepreneur side comes later on. That's the education that you get afterwards. As Jim Rome talks about, what you learn in school will make you a living, but what you learn after school will make you rich. And so that's the part that's missing, and that's what I was hoping to bring to the table by starting this business.
That's good, and that's a really good point that you said, and it's kind of a double-edged sword, because on one hand we do need black businesses, but on the other hand, as you know, a lot of times it's tough even when we try to start business, it's hard for us to patronize one another. Why do you think it's so hard for black people to support black businesses?
I heard Brother Tariq Nasheed talk about this once, and his perspective was that when people have a low self-esteem, then when someone does something who looks like them, they don't value it as much as they value the product that they receive from someone who they consider to be of a higher level of esteem. Now, me and mine, we don't have self-esteem problems. I mean, my God, my kids probably have a little too much in the way of confidence. So, personally, I don't get it. And I am very happy and very excited when I see, folks in our community reaching for more. I think the other half of that, though, has nothing to do with blackness per se, and that's just, it's just the thing with people who aren't happy with their circumstances don't want other people to be happy. The old misery loves company.
Right.
So if you're being oppressed and if you're in a position of feeling helpless and you've thrown in the towel, now at your core, you really don't believe that it has anything to do with you. It's just a product of your circumstances. The economy is bad. The government is bad. There are no jobs available. Whatever it is, whoever you've pinned that blame on, that's the monster that's keeping you down. And so when you in the neighborhood start climbing, that threatens their belief system and that challenges them, and they don't want you to see you succeed. And that's a problem.
No, that's a good point. I think some of it comes from our history, and then some of it maybe even some of the challenges that we even impose on ourselves. As you know, one of the challenges that I see in the community when it comes to black businesses is sometimes just the quality of businesses that we have. So why do you think so many black businesses have a hard time producing, I guess, what we consider quality products or services from your perspective?
Well, the thing that stands in the way of great is good. And a lot of times we human beings have a habit of thinking that good enough is good enough. The thing that we lose sight of, though, is that it's a competitive world. And, you have to keep striving to do better. Two of the lessons that I teach in the membership program are lifelong learning and a constant commitment to improvement. You don't ever really want to think about being the best. You just want to keep thinking about being better. It's a different mindset. Now, the lifelong learning, that's important because when people succeed, and they succeed wildly, one of the things that they invariably do is they write a book about it. They're going to sit down and they're going to tell their life story because they're proud of it, and they should be proud of it. If you were to create a $500 million business out of thin air, you should be proud of that because that's not an easy thing to do. So they write their memoirs, they write a book about it. So if I come along and I want to do what they did, there are blueprints for that. I simply have to go and find them and then read them and then implement the tools. So you constantly want to be looking for things that can give you some idea as to what you want to do next, or to give you some idea as to what pitfall to avoid, because time is precious. Time is more precious than money, because that's the asset that you can't get back. Right. So that's number one. Number two, I'm going to go straight to an example for this one. When Sam Walton started Walmart, a lot of people don't know this, but Kmart was already around, and Target was announced in the same year, and both of those companies were backed by large corporations. Sam Walton started Walmart based on a loan he had from his father-in-law. So he was way in a distant third place behind those guys. But what he did was he went into each of those stores day after day, and he saw what they were doing. He asked their assistant managers questions. He asked the customers questions. He measured the width of the aisles. He measured the height of the shelves. He opened up the drawer. He took every idea that he thought was cool and he brought it back and he implemented them. One at a time, week by week, I'm going to make something else better and something else better and something else better. And when he was done with Kmart, he went to Target. When he was done with Target, he went to Jamesway, and he went through all of these guys, Calder's, all of them, took their best ideas and he kept improvement. And that continuous improvement has made him the biggest company in the world. So if you commit to continually getting better, don't worry about being the best. You'll end up the best because your competition hasn't made that same commitment that you've made.
That's good, that's good. You brought up some valuable points. I'm glad you brought up that issue about time, because one thing I always like to say, for me, time is an acronym, and I say it's the intelligent management of your energy.
Absolutely.
And it's what you do with your time. Now, as you know, a lot of times black people, we don't always have a lot of money, but one thing we do have is time. Mm-hmm. So that kind of brings me to a little bit about what you're doing with some of the marketing on the internet, which I've been a huge proponent of, especially for people with little to no startup capital, which is, let's be honest, the predicament that most black people are in. Could you maybe outline a few good business models for internet marketing for some of the people viewing this, just to kind of give them some tips or a direction that they could possibly take if they're in a position where they don't have much startup capital?
What I teach folks is everything I know, and that is to take a company that is not geographically bound. So, for example, a car wash or a health club. You're geographically bound. The people who are going to patronize your establishment live within a certain radius of that business. Businesses that are not geographically bound, someone who can ship something through the mail and deliver something to someone, like a beauty supply store or a sporting goods store, or someone who's make clothes, or clothing boutique. They're not geographically bound. Someone like that can create an entirely different channel in addition to their foot traffic channel. And so you're going to be marketing to people who are on the opposite side of the country. Now, how do you market to these people? You market to these people differently, predicated upon two things. Number one, who your target is, and number two, what you're selling and what price point it's at. It could even be an information-based product, like you guys do a number of things that are information-based, like educating folks and things of that nature. You could teach a class, record that class, and then you can market that class over the internet. And then the class that you taught one time, you can monetize multiple times. And you would market that particular product differently than you would market, kente cloths, for example, if you were selling something like that. That model is different, even though your target audience might be similar. So that is the gamut that we walk through. First, we spend 5 weeks, we talk about success skills, which were the things that you were talking about earlier, like continuous improvement and reading and goal setting and time management and planning and cooperation with other businesses and so on and so forth. But then afterwards, we take those skills and we implement them into a model which they could go up to a business, talk to that business, and then they can market for them, and then you do a revenue split with them, a lot like you do with like Visa and MasterCard and folks like that. Anytime that you charge something, MasterCard gets a small piece. So anytime that I market for a company, I go up to them and we sign an agreement, and then I market for that company, and I'm going to generate sales for this company, and then I make a small piece of it. So I'm not shipping any products. I don't have to have any inventory. I don't have to have any employees. I don't have to do any of that stuff. The order comes in. When it goes through and gets charged, it automatically splits. I get my cut right up front. They get their piece. They handle all of the fulfillment of the order. So it costs me nothing. It's just the knowledge. You have to take the time to acquire the knowledge.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Now, I kind of want to shift over from entrepreneurship to wealth building for a second. But before we get into some wealth building strategies, as you know, I want to deal with a little bit about people's mentalities when it comes to money. And I know on your website, you actually have a video where you're dispelling certain myths that people have when it comes to money. So I kind of just want to go through those and kind of get your opinion on it. I know the first myth that I want to talk about is that money can't buy happiness. How do you feel about that?
Money. We have some interesting perspectives on money. And people say, well, money can't buy happiness. And I have grown to be convinced that sayings like that are like the fox and the grapes, you know, where the Aesop fable where the fox tried to get the grapes, tried to get the grapes, he couldn't get them, oh, they're sour anyway. Or you see that, you know, like on the street, a guy will try to talk to a woman, she ignores him, and then he says something negative to her. You know, it's that kind of a thing. When folks get to a point where they feel as if something is out of their reach, then they denigrate whatever it is that's out of their reach, and so that they no longer feel threatened by it, or so that their lack of having it doesn't make them feel as if they failed. So, you know, it's easy to tear something like that down, but you know, come on. When you're struggling and you know, you have to make decisions between keeping your lights on and feeding your kid, that's real, man. I mean, that's real. Right. And when you have no money concerns, with all else things being equal, you have less stress in your life, and so you feel happier. So it is what it is. You know, I'll close it by saying this way: if money doesn't buy happiness, you find me the person who just learned they hit the lottery who's miserable.
Right. So no, I totally agree. People say money doesn't buy happiness, but it's like, you know, being broke definitely won't make you happy.
Oh my goodness gracious.
As you know, it's problematic. So I mean, like you said, if you were sleeping outside and you're out there in all the elements, but if you had enough money to buy yourself a house, well, you just bought yourself some happiness.
Absolutely.
So it's an oversimplified example, but
absolutely,
I definitely agree with you. Now, the next myth that I want to go over is the myth that money is the root of all evil. How do you feel about that one?
This, you know, that's actually a passage from the Bible, and I think what happened with that one is folks have put the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable. You know, you put the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable. The problem is not money; it's the love of. And the difference with that is, if I go to a Christmas party, you know, I go to a Christmas party with my wife, my company's Christmas party. I have a drink, I talk to my coworkers, we dance, we have a good time, we get in the car, we drive home, nice evening. Same situation the following year. Go to the Christmas party with my wife. I have 15 drinks. I get sloppy drunk, I insult my wife, I insult my boss, I hit on one of my female coworkers, I get pulled over for a DUI, I get arrested, I lose my job. You know, it is the compulsive behavior that's the problem. Money, that drink wasn't that bottle of alcohol is the same bottle of alcohol each year. The alcohol wasn't the problem, I was the problem. It was my compulsive behavior and the way that I handled it and the excess that I went to. That's the issue.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming out today and sharing some good, valuable tips with everyone. But again, for you guys watching, I'm Rossi Eason. This is Sean Carrington. Please check out the Restore Black America Foundation at restoreblackamerica.org. You can also pick up the book Restore Black America on Amazon.com. And we'll see you next time. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Rossi Eason, founder of the Restore Black America Foundation and author of the Restore Black America book. And you know how this whole thing came about, man, is real interesting. Years ago, I had a friend of mine introduce me to something called the Willie Lynch letter. And if you don't know what that is, it was actually a transcript of a speech given at a slave owners convention. And it talked about how to control black people, not through force, but through psychology, talking about putting old against young, light skin against dark skin, male against female. And it pretty much outlines all of the problems that we have today. So when I read this plan and I said, if this is a plan to destroy black people, if I reverse engineer this, could we create a plan to rebuild the black community? Hence the term Restore Black America. So this book is actually broken down into a 6-step action plan that outlines a restoration process for the next 100 years. Those 6 steps are culture, economics, family, politics, health, and spirituality. And the way the whole premise goes is that this letter was actually written in 1712, and it said that if you actually put this plan in place, that you'll be able to control black people for the next 300 years. 2012 was actually the end of that 300-year mark. When I wrote this book, it came out in 2013, which is the first year after that 300-year mark. I founded the Restore Black America Foundation as a way to actually implement this 100-year plan. Not only to give people the information, but the actual tools in order to make a change. So basically what I've done is put this book together in a 100-year plan for the black community. Restore Black America is more than just a book. It's more than just a foundation. It's an entire movement sweeping across the black community. So be sure to stay tuned for our documentary as we outline the 6-step action plan for restoring Black America and taking our culture back. Holla.